Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about shads in Wizard101. I'm going to explain to you how they work, how you get them, when you get them, and why they're so important in the current meta in the game right now. If you guys want to support the channel or you find this video useful at all, the best way is to simply leave a like rating on this video and or a sub. And if you guys have any questions about anything, let me know down there in the comments below, and I will get back to them if I can to the best of my ability. But without further ado, let's get into things. Okay, so what are shads? Shads are simply shadow pip rating. It's just kind of the abbreviation the community uses for them. So shadow pip rating, the higher shads you have, essentially the more chance you have at getting a shad. Now it's important to note how shads function in PvE and advanced content like PvP are completely different. Okay guys, they used to be the same, but the devs changed this a couple of years ago. So basically how I interpret it, in PvE, no matter how much shad you have, maximum shad gear, no shad gear, it is always going to be RNG whether you get the shad or not. And I can tell you, as somebody who's quested 7 maxes and done a ton of builds, having a shad build in PvE doesn't really feel like it does anything or helps. So as a PvE player, I wouldn't really recommend chasing this stat because it's kind of purely up to RNG, and going for the stat itself doesn't really increase your odds by that much, so I'd kind of stay away from it in that regard. Now, where do you get shads? Obviously, it depends on the level. You start getting shads at level 100 with the Dark Moor gear. The primary ways to get shads are your hat, robe, boots, and wand, I would say. They did add new shad jewels into the game. I'll try and find one here for y'all if I can. Right here on my Wastelander Shock to Loop, I have a 10 shad pip rating on all schools, for example. So if I really wanted to, I could essentially stack up a shadow pip build with my amulet and my ring here and get a lot of shads. You could go as far to running a triangle on your deck, on your theme, on your wand even, and just really get insane amounts of shad. But I personally wouldn't recommend going that far, because at that point you're giving up a lot of other stats, so it's not really worth it at that point. Okay, now let's talk about why it is so good in PvP. We already talked about it in PvE, so yeah, let's talk about it in advanced content. Now, the way shads function in advanced content is way different than obviously the standard Wiz game. Within advanced content and PvP, you actually have a steady growth to your shad. So if I have more shads than somebody, I am going to outshad them. Maybe unless I go first, for example. If I have 4-piece shad rating, I'm getting a minimum of like 20% per round, and I'm not going to get outshaded ever if I have more shad pieces. A while back, they did rework shads to have a more linear growth or whatever, because it used to be RNG like PvE, but players didn't really like that, and they made this new model where you can consistently build up to a shad and track your shad over time and predict when you're going to get it within, time and developing that skill set. Now, in PvP, why shads are so important, there, in my opinion, is 3 reasons. 1, having higher shads is essentially a defensive stat. Now, let me explain to you what the hell I'm talking about here, because you're probably getting confused. If I have a higher shad rating than my opponent, that means 2 things. 1, their overall damage output on me is going down because they can't go for a big shad hit as quickly as I can, so I'm saving myself, some HP, some time by running high shads. Also, with Dark Surge in the game, it's really pivotal because you'll always have a free move to do and spend your Shad on, and always gain pips and gain tempo. If I'm somebody who's running the meta PvP gear against somebody who's not running the meta PvP gear, I can Dark Surge up to 3 to 4 times, which again is, 6, 12, 18, 24 pips when they can only get 6 pips back in that same amount of time. So you guys can kind of see why that might be broken. And it's resulted in a meta where if you don't have Shad gear in PvP, you're simply just going to lose the game. I believe 4 to 3 piece on the second Shad is like 3 turns that the opponent can Dark Surge or Shad that you can't do back. And in PvP, that is a lot of time for them to do something and you can't do anything back. I'm going to talk about the templates we have at max level because this will be affecting most players in the game. You have raid gear, which consists of, like Shibalba and Hunhao stuff, which is meta in the game currently right now, and it is incredibly annoying to get. And as a free-to-play player, you only have Stalker gear. Now, Stalker robe generally is pretty good on any school. Hunhao's better on the more defensive schools, I'd say, but one piece of Stalker gear is okay, but the issue is this is the only template in PvE for 170 that gives Shads. So you'd essentially have to run a lot of Stalker gear on your character, and by doing that, you're giving up a lot of offense as you might not have to do compared to like the Hunhao set right here. It's way easier to make a setup with Hunhao and Shibalba gear in the game than it is to make a full Stalker build that gives you a bunch of excess stats that you don't really want or don't really know what to do with. There's also a pay to win pack in the game, which is the Wastelander hat. It's been out for like 4 months now, and the devs did say that it will be in the next update, the free-to-play alternative, but I don't know why we have to wait 4 months to get a free-to-play alternative because people had to pay to win to PvP for the past 4 months. Are they going to be compensated? Probably not. It's KingStyle at the end of the day. But yeah, this hat is insanely good because you essentially keep a lot of offense and you keep the Shad rating compared to your other hat, which is like the Stalker hat, for example, for free-to-play players that don't want to raid. The Wastelander hat is just better. You get more pips, right? You keep that offense pressure up and all. And typically, if you are going to give up a piece of stat, it's going to be a block rating on the gear. You can give up 1 piece of block on 1 piece of gear, typically in PvP. So as a player, you're essentially forced into an area where you have to raid and spend a lot of time on the game, or you have to pay to play with the Wastelander stuff, or you have to have a objective disadvantage by running a full Stalker gear in PvP just to get the Shads. But then you have the Shads, but your stats are so weak that you end up losing the trades and falling behind anyways. So that's kind of how Shads work in the game and why they're kind of broken right now in the meta and all. And if you guys have any questions about things in the comments below, let me know. I guess I could include, what I think are the best Shads at the end here. I would say, donate, Surge, whatever. Dark Surge right here is really good for max PvP and in general PvE. Also a really good card to have. Strike is also a really good card to have. And obviously your Shadow enhanced hits in general are good to have. Yeah, that's everything I got for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will, like I said, answer the comments to the best of my ability down there in the comments below. And yeah, I will see you later. Thank you guys for watching, and take care, y'all.